Cold. Goosebumps pricked on your skin. Your hair stood on end, and the first thing you felt was a shiver running through your spine. You realized you've regained consciousness somehow, as if you were waking from a deep slumber. You couldn't remember when you had drifted to sleep, only that it was dark for a while. For how long, you couldn't recall. You slowly opened your eyes to bright fluorescence showering on you, hearing the sound of your breath through the breathing apparatus attached to your face. A sweet scent invaded your nostrils from the mask, but further from this, you found yourself laying on a firm bed in a dingy room. Not too cluttered by the looks of it, but enough to gauge that it had been used by visitors. An old armchair, open magazines, and the few small items on the breakfast table beside you. Wait a minute. Who's been visiting? In fact, where were you? You glanced around the room a little more before you felt something tighten around your wrists, finding yourself bound to the bed. You struggled, pulling at the straps, but to no avail. They were buckled down. You laid your head back onto the pillow, staring up at the dirty ceiling in contemplation. The more you dwelled on your situation, the harder it felt trying to remember how you ended up here. Pieces of your memory returned, hazy but enough to remember most of the feelings behind them. Pain, fear, relief. There was a conflict of interest, conflict between your emotions. You remembered feeling ashamed and belittled, but your loved ones provided that thanks to your quirk, one that was looked down upon, seen as a nuisance. But the flood of memories hit you like a wave. The cries, the screams. The disintegration of all that you knew before you ran away, fueled by your fear. Then that truck. You gasped, recalling the last thing you felt shattering your core inside. Your skin crawled when the memory of that painful crash coursed through you, until the sound of the door to the room opened. Your eyes landed on a woman, dressed smartly with a fitted white coat. She was surprised at first upon witnessing you awake before a genial smile appeared on her lips. "It's a pleasure to finally speak with you," she greeted on approach. "Where am I?" you asked, while still pulling at the leather bands on your wrists. "In a safe place," replied the woman. "No need to struggle. It was only for your safety during the healing process. You've been convulsing while you were comatose." You slowly stopped before the woman unlatched the buckles from one of your wrists, allowing you the freedom of one of your limbs at least. You watched while she attended the machines and monitors next to your bed, switching off what you believed was the breathing apparatus. That sweet scent disappeared as soon as she did, allowing her to remove the apparatus from your person. "How are you feeling?" she asked, while she placed the breathing mask by all of the monitors. Okay, you answered, confused. "Just okay," she reiterated. "How is your breathing?" You were taken aback by the odd question, but still took in a deep breath to check. Everything felt normal, even better now, as if your lungs were clear. "Wait, what happened?" you asked while you breathed into your hands. "You were hit by a truck," answered the woman while she noted down information on your vitals. What?" you exclaimed. no, wait, I remember that! I meant my quirk! The woman turned towards you, perplexed at your reaction, watching your earnest confusion on all manner of things. All she did was smile, turning her full attention onto you. You found nothing. You felt nothing. Just breath. Finding normal breath was one thing. Finding it no longer cryogenically freezing by mere touch was another. It's manifested into something else upon your return, I assume. The woman answered. I can only do so much when I have to bring somebody back. What do you mean? You hesitantly asked, questioning this woman's vague response. That smile of hers still laid on her lips before she responded casually without any form of easing into the topic. You were clinically dead for 2 minutes. Your stomach dropped, and you felt your heart stop momentarily. You died? When? How long ago? But don't fret, the woman continued. The commander brought you here. Grand Commander, spoke an icy tone from the door, catching your attention to a man entering the room dressed in black. The woman, upon hearing the voice, smiled genially at the man, bowing her head lightly towards him. My apologies. Last I checked, the front was still in shambles, she casually replied, receiving an unimpressed glare from the man by the door. You could only make out his silhouette with his fur-trimmed coat sitting on his shoulders. You weren't due here for another hour, the woman continued while she held onto her notes close to her chest. Well, plans have changed, replied the man as he stepped into the light. His chalky skin covered in scarring clicked in your mind while his long unkempt hair hid most of his face, along with that disembodied hand. But his posture and his voice was no mistake. You recognized all of it. I need to speak with them. Now. You were there, you murmured, catching both the woman's and his attention onto you. You did. The woman smiled at you again. It was comforting somewhat, but unnerving. Suspicion filled your mind on how much she knew and how much she was leading on, until she turned to leave, walking past the man with a click of her heels. I'll leave the two of you be, she motioned, speaking more so to the man than you. At least be gentle. They've come out of an induced coma. Her movements were light and yet strict until she exited the room, shutting the door behind her. With only one of your wrists bound, you quickly tried to unlatch the buckle, finding that it was no ordinary buckle, locked by a combination of sorts. Your struggle in the bed mirrored the man's calm approach towards you. Upon closer inspection of his clothes, you found him in a suit and tie ensemble underneath that long coat of his. His unkempt hair now visible in the light, and his dark red eyes staring down at you through the fingers of that hand on his face. That stare. It was the same look he gave you before. Who are you? You demanded, keeping your wary and cautious eyes on him. Tomura Shigaraki continued to stare at your frail form in the bed, inspecting for any of the injuries you had sustained. He cocked his brow at the sight. No scars, no broken bones. The prospect of keeping close ties with the doctor was becoming fruitful for his future plans, causing a small smirk to appear on his lips. He slowly took his seat at the foot of your bed, while he watched you retract your legs away from him, still chained to it.
Those were your last words,
he commented in mild amusement.
Are we continuing our brief conversation then?
You recoiled slightly from the casual response, unsure, confused, and frustrated.
Oh, what the hell happened to me?
You asked again. With a sigh, Shigaraki righted himself, his eyes still on you.
You were hit by a truck.
I know!
You yelled in frustration, taking Shigaraki by some surprise from your outburst.
That doctor told me I died for 2 minutes? Can you explain why my quirk is gone?
Fine. I'll start from the top,
explained Shigaraki before he slowly removed the disembodied hand from his face.
Do you recognize me now?
You stared into his face, the scarring and chalky skin now visible under the fluorescent light. His eyes stared into yours, yet they looked serene, unlike his demeanor and his tone earlier. For a moment there was a familiarity, something kindred behind those eyes. You had seen them before, while sitting at the children's park on the pair of swings.
Shigaraki?
You slowly whispered, your body relaxing while you edged closer to him.
You're
Grand Commander of the Paranormal Liberation Front. Yes.
He admitted with a straight face.
You wouldn't have thought that when we first met.
No, I was going to ask what you're wearing.
You rectified, causing Shigaraki to glance at his clothes.
What's wrong with my clothes?
You? In a suit? It kinda... well... I didn't expect that.
True. The times you met Shigaraki by the swings, he just wore casual black clothes with a hoodie. He seemed approachable at the time. As approachable to your liking at the very least. And many afternoons were spent with him whenever you spotted him. Which wasn't often. Shigaraki sighed again from the mundane nature of your thought process. Perhaps this was what the doctor meant when she said to go gentle on you. But as soon as he turned to you again, he watched your eyes grow dark and fearful as a realization dawned upon you.
You killed my family.
You softly spoke, your eyes drifting up to his somewhat calm ones.
I did,
he admitted, breaking your thoughts.
You asked me to.
What?
You exclaimed.
No, I didn't!
Yes, you did. The last time we spoke was the day you ran away from home, and you hated yourself. You hated your quirk. And then you said,
I hate them. They don't understand. I try my best to keep it away, I do. Someone just take them away. I want them to feel what I'm going through.
Upon recollecting that conversation, you felt your heart drop. The next words would soon haunt your mind for however long it fleeted through.
I'm dying inside. Why can't anyone teach them that? I didn't say murder them.
You rebutted while you clutched onto your clothes and felt the prick of tears on the corner of your eyes.
That was over a year ago.
The sudden rush of emotions forced their way up your throat while your body shook. The screams, the ash, the memories flooded back with more clarity when you envisioned Shigaraki surrounded by the dust of those you knew. Their bodies looked as if they were frozen in time, before they disappeared into nothing. Shigaraki watched your body tremble from all manner of emotion. but that was all he did. Turning to his hands, half covered by a glove, he remembered the look in their eyes, the terror, the remorse, but nothing of theirs compared to the pain in your eyes in that moment.
Now you understand why I never divulged my quirk,
he commented with a wry smile.
But even after a year, things haven't changed, huh?
Through your tears, you looked up at Shigaraki, spotting the now not so impressed look on his face, almost as if he were disappointed.
That muzzle they forced on you, the gag they shut you up with. How many times did we talk about freedom that it didn't absorb into your thick skull?
Shigaraki's eyes contorted with anger and spite while he spoke those words. It was a bitter taste that brewed in the back of his throat while he leaned closer towards you.
I liberated you from their shackles.
With those words, you recoiled back in the bed away from him, squeezing into a ball as best as you could. Everything became clearer the more you thought about it. The tightness of the muzzle on your face and the strength of your family members pinning you down upon your resistance against the treatment. It wasn't new to find yourself in this position. Your family had no idea what to do with your quirk except to deal with it through brute force. You could almost feel the pull of the muzzle from behind, its metallic grate violently tearing into your skin whenever you resisted. The sound of your wrist buckling against the leather bounds that trapped you in the bed caught your attention again, your hand gripping onto the edge.
Then what's this?
You questioned while pulling on your own shackle.
Am I your prisoner now?
Far from it,
responded Shigaraki lightheartedly.
You're free to leave if you wish, but I wasn't lying when I said that you had potential to be greater than what your puny-minded family thought of you.
The bed creaked when he shifted, causing you to curl into yourself further. He edged closer before you swung your free hand out to keep him at bay, only for him to grab it in his palm, his pinky delicately sticking out away from his grip. You stared at his hand. Though covered in a glove, you recalled what had transpired in the last of your memories. One touch from him, and they began to fall apart, the thread of his pinky hovering over your wrist.
If I have to apologize,
he continued, his eyes on you.
It's only that you were harmed. I brought you here after the accident, left no trace of your involvement, and the doctor was nothing but hospitable to bring you back to health. Better than before.
He closed the distance between him and yourself, his eyes peering into your confused ones. Those emotions stormed inside your head and your heart. It almost made you feel a numbness grow from the tumultuous core of your being. Were you relieved? Upset? Angry? And to whom?
What do you mean, better?
You asked, hanging on the word. You saw a smile on his lips, one that you only recognized rarely and briefly during your evening conversations with him before his grip loosened, releasing you from the threat of his quirk.
You'll see when you're allowed out of this bed,
he answered with a smirk before he poked you in the forehead, almost playfully.
But more important things to attend to. I only ask one thing of you.
Yeah?
Join the front.
Your eyes widened upon the request, seeing Shigaraki's stern gaze on you. You remembered that look. He was absolutely serious about his request. In fact, this wasn't the first time he had asked something of this magnitude before. You remembered him trying to convince you to join him then, but for something else.
There's no one for you to return to. Not that any of those pathetic beings would ever accept you like we do,
he explained with an angry gleam in his eye.
We can teach you how to control your developed quirk, to have meaning and purpose, to have a family, a home.
Upon hearing those words, you attempted to rifle through all of your thoughts, your emotions, your circumstances. Did your family's murderer just ask you to join him? To stay with him? Perhaps not with him specifically, though you couldn't help attaching the sentiment to himself. Shigaraki watched your eyes tremble, darting from one spot to another while you were in thought.
Have a think about it,
he offered before he leaned his head next to your ear, his gloved hand carefully cradling your cheek to keep you still.
The walls have ears too, and I have missed you. You're precious to me, like all the others, outside of it all.
As soon as he pulled away, you saw a glimmer of that smile again.
But for now, rest up, noob,
he teased again, poking you one more time in the forehead. You rubbed the spot with a slight pout before you watched him walk away, placing the hand over his face once more. The sudden tug of his coat caught him off kilter for a moment, stopping him in his tracks to turn his eye back onto you, clutching onto the dark fabric in your hands.
Thank you,
you spoke, bringing his attention back onto your small form.
I don't know what for, but thank you.
Tears began to spill from your eyes while you stared at the linen that laid atop your legs. Your hand slowly released Shigaraki's coat, only to hear his footsteps walk away, opening the door for the woman, the doctor, who stood by.
Look after them,
he ordered, his eyes staring through the fingers towards her, who only casually smiled in return.
I shall do my best,
she replied in kind. They have a lot to catch up on. With a click of her heels, she entered the room, leaving Shigaraki to watch on from afar. While the doctor tended to your weeping body, conflicted and confused, Shigaraki shut the door slowly, keeping his eye only on you.
You're welcome, Pixie.